I take it they mean from that no one's getting fat, is they're still struggling. Except Mama Cass, that's just, mate, it is extraordinary line to sing and to have her sing it. Wow, fair play.
Hey, everybody out there, welcome back to another Friday episode of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy, that's John over there, and today is an episode devoted to one of y'all. In particular, this one is going to be an episode that focuses on a request from Michael Nedsmar9106, who offered up a recommendation in our video dedicated to Insomnia by Faithless. And the track that he'd offered up to us was Creaky Alley by the Mamas and the Papas. So, as the resident Yank who grew up in a household with hippie parents who would fill the house with the sounds of all these different kinds of, counterculture bands and folk bands and hippie acts, all, and some blues too. I'm familiar with this track and with the Mamas and the Papas. I don't think John is. Not this track anyway, though you know some Mamas and the Papas, right, John? Yeah,
Imagine.
about that much. Okay. Well, today is your opportunity to go check out more from them and maybe make it this much. So please go give Creaky Alley a listen and come back and let us know what you think, my friend.
Yeah, mein Commandant.
John and Mitchie were getting kind of itchy just to leave the folk music behind. Saul and Denny working for a penny, trying to get a fish on the line.
So the guy start the guitar instantly just like makes me think of like, 60s West Coast America. It's kind of lazy but sunny at the same time. It's really nice. Instant beautiful harmonies as they're singing away. Um, I heard something about sort of itchy to leave behind folk music, and I don't really know much about Mamas and Papas. Um, I never really thought of them as sort of coming from a folk music base, but I guess it kind of makes sense with all the sort of the harmonies. Um, I was picture held fingers in the ears, but there you go. Yeah, so interesting. And I heard some names there. One of them was Denny. The only person I know, Mamas and Papas, is Matt Cass. So I presume Denny's one of them because the only other Denny I know is Sandy Denny, Fairport Convention. I doubt they were referencing her. But yeah, interesting. It's a really nice start. Um, I got this vague feeling that I might have heard this before, but I certainly don't know the song. We'll see how it goes.
In a coffee house, Sebastian sat, and after every number they passed the hat. McQueen and McGuire's just a getting higher in LA, you know where that's at. And no one's getting fat except Mama Cass.
Hang on a minute. So I heard Gwen and McGuire, I think, was just getting higher. That must be Roger McGuinn, the Birds, 8 miles high. I guess they're mates with them. That line there, no one's getting fat except Mama Cat is extra. Let me just, I'm not sure if I actually heard that correct.
McGuire's just a getting higher in LA, you know where that's at. And no one's getting fat except Mama Cass.
That is an extraordinary line because I presume she's singing it as well. Wow. Now, even if the getting fat means something else, like getting rich, you tend to think of like getting rich out of somebody else's efforts, actually. So that's not a great line anyway. But I take it they mean from that no one's getting fat is they're still struggling. Except Mama Cass, that's just it is extraordinary line to sing and to have her sing it. Wow, fair play.
Solid said, Danny, you know there aren't many who can sing a song the way that you do. Let's go south.
Danny said, Zolly, golly, don't you think that I wish I could play guitar like you?
So Danny and Sebastian sat
At the night out.
and after every number they passed out.
So I think we're going female voices, male voices, female voices, a couple of lines each. I think this at the end there, at the night owl. Let's get back a little bit.
Zolly, golly, don't you think that I wish I could play guitar like you?
So Danny and Sebastian sat
At the night
and
out.
after every number
Yeah, it just makes me think of the Night Owl Massacre from LA Confidential, James Elroy. But yeah, that's the way my mind works.
they passed the hat.
McQueen and McGuire still are getting higher in LA, you know where that's at.
And no one's getting fat except Mama Cass.
When Cass was a sophomore, planned to go to Swarthmore, but she changed her mind
You
one
heard a
day.
harmonica?
Standing on the turnpike, thumb out the hitchhike, take her to New York right away. When Danny met Cass, he gave a love bomb.
All John and Saul, and that was the month from
McQueen and McGuire couldn't get no higher, but that's what they were aiming at.
and no one's getting fat except Mama Cass.
Mugwumps, high jumps, low slumps, big bumps, don't you work as hard as you play.
Make up,
Break up, everything is shake up.
yes, it had to be that way.
Sebastian and Zol form a spoonful.
Shelton and getting very
Oh, just quickly, I think I'm hearing like a, what do you call it, saloon piano? It's almost like a ragtimey feel, or even honky tonk. Other people will be more expert in those sounds, but it's just got this light prancing feel to it, which is quite nice. Yeah, sort of barroom piano. I heard them say something about Sebastian and Soul formed a spoonful. I presume that's a loving spoonful. Don't know why, but I always sort of picture the two groups as being quite sort of connected at the same time. But I don't know. Yeah, there's a narrative here, definitely, which is kind of like an inside, almost like an inside joke. There's stuff going on there, which I have no clue what they're referencing, but it sounds great. That sort of lightness with the piano is really cool.
McQueen and McGuire just a catching fire in LA, you know where that's at.
Everybody's getting fat except Mama Cass. Disgusted, agents can't be trusted, and then she wants to go to the sea.
Cass can't make it, she says we'll have to fake it. We knew she'd come eventually. Greasing on American Express cars, but keeping out the heat's hard.
The obvious good vibrations in our imaginations
Can't go on indefinitely. And California dreaming is becoming a reality.
Yeah, that's a great old song actually. I really enjoyed that. There's lots of references in there. There's something about American Express and Cass Can't Make It and um, Good Vibrations as well. They really seem to be quite fixated on the Birds. They're obviously, I don't know if they're big mates with them or just or what. And then the last sort of line, California Dreaming is becoming a reality, and then you saw a thumbnail of the actual single, which I know is a massive hit for them. I presume that was their breakthrough song that sort of launched them um, into the popular consciousness, as they say. Yeah, there's feels like there's a lot of stuff going on in this, which I do not understand the knowledge to appreciate. The song itself's really, really nice. Their vocals are just beautiful, and it has that sort of rolling, along sort of feel to it. And then the last bit where they kept the flute solo was something I didn't expect, and then they kept it going through that last verse. And as is the vocals sort of peter off, the flute's still going, and it kind of had that feel of like a sort of light-hearted, almost lightweight sort of American '60s sitcom where everyone ends up going huh at the end. Um, that's kind of what it felt like. Yeah. Anyway, more questions and answers. So you'll go to the man who's got the answers because he's done the research, and that is Andy. Let's get back to it.
So you're back. What did you think of your time with the Mamas and the Papas?
Interesting. So I have to say, I know little bits and pieces of them, and I was more than happy to check out some more stuff of them. It's one of those bands where they're kind of always around, so you think you'll get around to checking them out at some point, but you never do. So this is a good opportunity. Um, it starts off with this classic lazy guitar that sounds so sunny and so 60s West Coast. It really, really does. And then come the vocals and instant beautiful harmonies from the get-go, as you'd expect. And at this point, I'm getting slight deja vu vibes. Have I heard this before? Spoiler alert, I haven't. It's just it just sounds like bits and pieces of things that are generically you
Yeah.
hear. And that sort of that lovely sort of vocal quality to it. Yeah, from the lyrics, someone, I don't know who, was getting itchy to leave folk music behind. Do you know what? I never really thought of the Mamas and Papas as folk based. I just thought of them as kind of this poppy kind of 60s thing. But I guess, of course, it makes sense with all the harmonies. They probably come out of a folk base. And of course, as soon as I think 60s and folk, I think of all the finger in the ear stuff from inside Llewyn Davis, Coen Brothers. But of course, it's not all that. It's not all sea shanties. Um, I hear the name Denny in this, and of course, the only Denny I know is Sandy Denny from Fairport Convention, also Battle of Evermore, Led Zeppelin 4. But it can't be her, surely not. And then McGuinn and McGuire are getting higher. I think McGuinn must be Roger McGuinn from the Birds, 8 Miles High is a reference to that. And then after that, something about LA, and then no one's getting fat except Mama Cass. And I had to rewind and listen to that again. I think it's an extraordinary line because I'm presuming that Mama Cass, who's the only one I know out of Mamas and Papas, she's the most famous one for her many exploits. She's singing that line. It's just amazing. And she is well known for being more ample than the rest of the band. But even if this has some other meaning as opposed to a physical quality, like, getting fat as in getting rich or whatever, they're trying to put over the fact that they're struggling. But I don't know why she's getting sort of benefit. She got some sort of side hustle. I don't know if that is, Chinese laundry. She's running a numbers game racket. I don't know. But even so, just putting that line out there, that's no one's getting fat except Mama Cass is just amazing. To think they'll do that. But they did, and she sang it. I mean, fucking hats off to her. Strange, but there you go. It really, really sort of blew me to one side for that. I just threw me for a bit, but anyway. They may have done it in the first verse, but I didn't notice it. But the second verse I noticed is they changed the dynamics around to the vocal slightly. So the first couple of lines are female, then it's the two guys, and then it's the two ladies again. Um, I heard a line, and they kind of throw it away like it's soft. They say at the Night Owl, which immediately put me in mind of the Night Owl Massacre from James Ellroy's L.A. Confidential, the way my mind works. And then the ending, from the previous verse are repeated, so we get McGuinn and Maguire still getting higher, with reference to the birds again. Then the next verse focuses on Mama Cass changing her plans, and she's hitchhiking to New York. Apparently, Denny gave her love bumps, so it's definitely not Sandy Denny. And I think as she says, as they're singing this, I could detect way back in the mix some harmonica coming through as well. And surprise, surprise, the diet's not working. And Mama Cass is still um, getting fat. Next verse, and there's this lovely sort of rhyme. I couldn't write it all down or whatever. Jumps and slumps and bumps, and the whole thing feels like a bit of an inside joke or a narrative that I don't really know. This definitely feels, like the sort of the long and winding road of the Mamas and Papas. We start to get at this point some addition of, you call it saloon piano, but it has that sort of light prancing ragtime feel, almost honky tonk. And I hear the lines Sebastian and Soul, is it? Soul formed the spoonful, which I believe would be the loving spoonful. For various reasons, I always associate the Mamas and Papas and the living spoonful as almost like, working in tandem for some reason.
Yeah.
I have, which reminded me of this, and I didn't realize it's the reaction. I have a really dreadful album.
Just
I don't
one?
think you have it in the country. Now that's why I call music. Is the compilation thing that started in like early 80s, and they did all sorts of stuff. I remember picking this up for £1, and for just a couple of songs on it. It's called Now the Summer Album, and it's actually, I mean, it's dreadfully done, but it's actually got some amazing stuff on here. And they do have, amongst Summer Breeze and Do It Again and Lovely Day and Dreadlock Holiday and Girl for Me Panema, there's some really, really good songs in there. They're all old, obviously. A couple of Cliff Richards. Yes, Summertime Blues, Sunday Afternoon the Kinks, Mamas and Papas, California Dreaming. And then a couple of, after that, Living Spoonful, Some in the City, and Daydream by Living Spoonful as well. And for some reason, they put on All You Need Is Love. So I don't know why. They've got Here Comes the Sun, and they've got the Barracuda's Summer Fun, which has one of the greatest intros ever in a song. I don't know if you're aware of it.
No.
There's a guy at the start, and he says, now, kids, ready for the next song by the Barracudas. And they say, hey, man, what's that? And he says, I can't say Barracuda. He says, well, try this. Go bar, bar, rah, rah, coo, coo, da, da. Put it all together, what we got? And he goes, ba ba ra ra cuckoo da da. Anyway, that's the intro to the song, but yeah, I digress. But anyway, Loving Spoonfuls, Mums and Papas. Anyway, so the birds are still in there progressing, and they're catching fire at this point. And then we get some sort of Morse code vocalizing, dit dit dot dot dot, which then segues into really bizarrely but quite lovely flute solo, and it's just like. And what I mean is it Anchorman just wandered in with his jazz flute? I mean, it's just so weird. It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, I love it. And you can at this point you can clearly hear the harmonica along with this sort of honky tonk, piano, giving a lovely sort of loosey goosey feel to this section that's just rolling along. The last verse has some really obtuse narrative. Something like Cass can't make it, and American Express card, get a reference to Good Vibrations in there as well. But the flute didn't go away like I expected, and it's still pumping along, and it kind of lends this sort of lightness, like a 1960s American sitcom track almost, at the end where people always
do
that at the end of it. It's one of those, it's really odd. And then it ends with a line, and California Dreaming is becoming a reality. And then you get a thumbnail of the single. So I guess, penny drops at the end. This is a narrative of what's gone on in their band career up until the point where this, because I don't know, but I'm guessing, I'm thinking California Dreaming was their breakthrough.
Mhm.
It's a massive song, and obviously still is. And that's the point where they made it, as it were. And this is the leading up to it, and struggles and stuff going on, and people around them, like the Birds and Loving Spoonful as well, and what they're doing within, LA. So yeah, overall, I thought it was really interesting, and I think, like the song we discussed recently, there's Easter eggs in it, and probably more to be found.
Mhm.
But it had a lovely lightness of a touch to it, and this summery '60s West Coast vibe thing to it. But that being, it's slightly hippie-ish, you said in the intro, counterculture, but
Yeah.
not too much. It's still wholesome at the same time as well. It's this
Yeah, it
mixture.
can appeal to those
Yeah,
outside of the counterculture, but
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, really, really nice sound to it. And I think I really love all this sort of like '60s music like this, and I don't listen to enough of it.
Mm.
And probably the stuff I do is obviously the Beatles, or the Doors, or stuff like that. So something like this, I listen to a bit of Beach Boys, not enough. So something like this has got a bit of sunshine to it. I really like,
Oh,
and I was just really impressed by it. I loved it.
awesome. Well, I'm glad you liked it. I'm sure Michael is happy that you liked the recommendation as well. Yeah, this is everything you described. Sunny, it's bright, it's I'm the feel, I mean, if you know about the Mamas and the Papas, they weren't the most innocent of people. I mean, obviously, when you get into some of the stuff. But it has musically this air of innocence to it, and youth. So yeah, it's good. It's good by my book. I mean, this is a really fun tune. So yeah, the Mamas and the Papas, they were an American folk rock vocal group that recorded and performed from 1965 to 1968, with a brief reunion in 71. The group was a defining force in the music scene of the counterculture of the 1960s. Formed in New York City, the group consisted of Americans John Phillips, Cass Elliot, Michael Phillips, and Canadian Denny Doherty. Their sound was based on vocal harmonies arranged by Phillips, John Phillips, that is, the singer, the songwriter, and leader of the group, who adapted folk to the new beat style of the early 1960s. The Mamas and Papas released 5 studio albums and 17 singles, 6 of which made the Billboard Top 10, and has sold close to 40 million records worldwide. That's a lot of work in a pretty small window of time. I see you nodding your
Yeah,
head.
I didn't realize it was like three
Yeah,
years. I mean, wow.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty incredible stuff. Um, so yeah, as mentioned earlier, after their breakup in '68, the band reunited briefly to record the album People Like Us in 1971, but split again shortly after the album was released. They were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1998 for their contributions to the music industry, and they reunited for the second and final time to perform at the induction ceremony that year, during which Elliot's daughter Owen filled in for her late mother, who had died in 1974. The band was formed by the husband and wife John Phillips, formerly of the Journeymen, and Michelle Phillips, along with Denny Darty, formerly of the Mugwumps. Both of these earlier acts were folk groups active in 1964 and 65. The last member to join was Cass Elliot, Darty's bandmate in the Mugwumps. The track we listened to today, Creaky Alley, is an autobiographical hit single written by John Phillips and Michelle Phillips in late 1966, narrating the story of how the group was formed in its early years. So, yeah, by the end of the song, you had firmly caught on to that theme. Um, it is the third song on the album Deliver, and it peaked at number 5 on the U.S. Billboard Pop Singles chart the week of Memorial Day in 1967, becoming their last top 10 hit. It made number 9 on the UK singles charts, number 4 on the Australian charts, and number 1 on the Canadian charts. The title of the song, which does not occur in the lyrics at all, is derived from Creeque, or what's two different spellings, right? It's Creque or Crequi, both of which I believe are pronounced Creeky. And its name is Creeque Alley. That's its traditional spelling. Home to a club in the Virgin Islands where John and Michelle Phillips spent most time on vacation. The lyric "greasin' on an American Express cards" refers to that time during which they could only make ends meet by using their credit cards. And the lyric "Duffy's good vibrations and our imaginations can't go on indefinitely" refers to Hugh Duffy, the owner of the club on Creeky Alley. The Phillips lyrics mention directly or indirectly many artists and bands who were part of the folk music scene at the time, including fellow band members Cass Elliot and Denny Doherty, Zal Yanofsky, and John Sebastian of the Lovin' Spoonful, Roger McGuinn of the Byrds, and Barry McGuire of the New Christie Minstrels. The group had previously provided backing vocals for McGuire, including on his first recorded version of California Dreamin'. Several locations important to the band's story are mentioned, such as the Night Owl Cafe in Greenwich Village. So that's the allusion to the Night Owl. John Phillips said that he wrote the song to tell their producer Lou Adler who is who in the band's history. The line that ends the first three verses, and I don't know if you caught on to this, but you definitely caught on to the initial ending of each verse, so which tickled you to no end and amazed you, I think. Is "and no one's getting fat except Mama Cass." In the fourth verse, with the story of the genesis of the Mamas and the Papas nearing its denouement, Phillips changes the concluding line to "and everybody's getting fat except Mama Cass." The word "fat," assuming the second meaning you alluded to when you were going over the possibilities of this, of meaning of prosperous, alluding to the notion that the success recently achieved by Cass's professional associates and friends had still eluded her. The final line, "and California Dreamin' is becoming a reality," is an apparent reference to their hit song California Dreamin' and marks the point at which the group achieved its breakthrough, leaving behind the lifestyle described in the rest of the song, making credit cards to make ends meet and all this stuff. American music trade magazine Cashbox called the single a driving, pulsing, grooving ditty, and Record World called it infectious. So, as we just reviewed some of them, or at least on a surface level, let's get into these lyrics a little bit more. John and Mishi were getting kind of itchy just to leave their folk music behind. Zal and Denny working for a penny, trying to get a fish on the line. In a coffee house, Sebastian sat, and after every number, they'd pass the hat. McGuinn and McGuire just getting higher in L.A. You know where that's at, and no one's getting fat except Mama Cass. Zal, he said, "Denny, you know there aren't many who can sing a song the way you do. Let's go south." Denny said, "Zally, golly, don't you think that I wish I could play a guitar like you?" Zal, Denny, and Sebastian sat at the Night Owl, and after every number they'd pass the hat. McGuinn and McGuire still a getting higher in L.A. You know where that's at. And no one's getting fat except Mama Cass. When Cass was a sophomore, planned to go to Swarthmore, but she changed her mind one day. Standing on the turnpike, thumb out to hitchhike, take me to New York City right away. When Denny met Cass, he gave her love bumps, called John and Zal, and that was the Mugwumps. McGuinn and McGuire couldn't get no higher, but that's what they were aiming at, and no one's getting fat except Mama Cass. Mugwumps, high jumps, low slumps, big bumps. Don't you work as hard as you play? Make up, break up, everything is a shake up. Guess it had to be that way. Sebastian and Zal formed the Spoonful. Michelle, John, and Denny getting very tuneful. McGuinn and McGuire just a catching a fire in L.A. You know where that's at, and everybody's getting fat except Mama Cass. Broke, busted, disgusted, agents can't be trusted, and Mishy wants to get to the sea. Cass can't make it. She says we'll have to fake it. We knew she'd come eventually. Greasing on American Express cards, tense low rent, but keeping out the heat's hard. But Duffy's good vibrations and our imaginations can't go on indefinitely, and California dreaming is becoming a reality. So yeah, there you have it. Pretty talented to be able to tell that little story and and sticking to the sort of the structure of the music that you wrote to it. So yeah, fun stuff. This is a I hadn't listened to this song in God knows how long, so it was fun for me to dig into this and even to just rehash some of my knowledge of the Mamas and the Papas. God, I think one time the story goes they were down there. I think they frequented this Virgin Islands place, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw it in a documentary or something. But like one of them had like a vial of LSD. So while the others slept, they went around and I think dropped it in their mouths as they slept, and the other members woke up to like a full blown psychedelic experience at the hands of whoever had the dropper. But yeah, this is, I mean, I sounds ridiculous, but when you're thinking about the music and the time and the counterculture movement and the drugs that were part of it, it all kind of checks out, really. But yeah, so Michael, fun shout. I had a lot of fun going back and rehashing some stuff. John liked to get reintroduced to the band. Obviously, that you clearly like this kind of stuff, as you mentioned. So that's something I'll have to try to retain, or maybe guys out there in the listening audience, if you've tuned into a video and this is your first time here and it's because it's the Mamas and the Papas, something tells me you guys probably have some other great mid 60s folk classics that you'd like to throw our way. So if you do, please drop them in the comments field below. We'll chuck them up for John to give a listen to so he can get what he's looking for. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this thing up, John. So thank you so much for giving this a listen. Again, Michael, thanks for the shout. Appreciate you guys. If you guys, as I alluded to a moment, have any suggestions you'd like us to check out, whether it's mid-60s folk or not, feel free to drop in the comments field below. We will add it to our ever-growing list from which we pull for our Friday episodes. Also, please like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. We really do appreciate that. It goes a long way to help us bolster the numbers here at the channel, so thank you so much. And hopefully John and I will see all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.